Australian hero. SAS Corporal Ben Roberts-Smith has served 5 tours in Afghanistan. The last time there, he won the Victoria Cross, the highest military award for bravery. You're about to hear Ben tell what happened that day. It is extraordinary. Not just what he did, but what his mates did as well. When outgunned and outnumbered, they beat impossible odds to defeat a massive Taliban attack. You're about to meet a man who believes freedom and family are worth fighting for. Here's Ben Roberts-Smith with Mike Willesee.
You've got a beautiful wife and 2 beautiful girls. So the obvious question is, why do you go back?
To have the girls was easily the best day of my life. It took us a long time to have the kids through IVF. But I very much believe in what we're doing. I'm privy to a lot of information and intelligence that leads us to the places we go. I know what we're doing is actually stemming the flow of terrorism into this country. I know that.
You're prepared to die?
Very much so.
We kicked the hornet's nest when we got in there.
1, 2, 3!
We were certainly outpositioned and outgunned.
It was pretty apparent that it wasn't a typical mission.
Threw a grenade over the wall into the compound. One burst could have killed all 3 of us.
What he did turned the tide of that battle, but it also saved the lives of his 2 mates.
I wasn't going to sit there and do nothing and just watch my mates die.
He's the most highly decorated soldier in the Australian Defence Force today. He's somebody who's done something remarkable.
Ben?
Now, who dares wins?
Big Ben was once little. A Perth boy who at 17 joined the army. 8 years later, Ben Roberts-Smith set his sights on entering the SAS, the toughest, fittest and smartest soldiers in the military. 9 out of every 10 who try fail the brutal selection process.
I think it comes down to desire. You have to want to do it, because if there is 1 ounce of doubt, you will definitely not succeed.
You are the elite of the elite.
It's a way of putting it, yeah. We consider ourselves probably the government's answer to any complex military problem.
And Afghanistan remains a very complex problem. The primary role of the SAS is the most dangerous: to target and neutralise senior Taliban commanders leading the war against the coalition. On the 11th of June 2010, in northern Kandahar, Ben's unit was assigned a high-priority mission: to capture or kill a high-ranking Taliban leader. They would be choppered in by the legendary US 101st Airborne Division.
We had a 4 Black Hawk, 2 Apache package, which meant we had 4 helicopters to carry the blokes and 2 Apache gunships to support us.
That's you and that's you sitting. That's how you went in.
Yeah, I mean that is the photo. That was the day we left for T-Zone. It was early in the morning, about 8:30.
The Australians knew their target was important. What they didn't know was that he'd come to meet 10 other senior commanders who were protected by over 100 battle-hardened and well-armed militia.
So we started to circle the target and immediately started to take fire from the high ground.
Ben watched as 50 metres below, one of the Taliban aimed a rocket-propelled grenade, or RPG, at the Black Hawk he was in.
The surgeon was able to get the rocket away. The pilot was able to do a minor evasive manoeuvre. The rocket basically went straight underneath the airframe, So that's probably the most vulnerable actually I felt all day, because you're not in control. The American pilots did a pretty impressive job, showed a lot of courage.
Ben saw an RPG go under his feet. He was sitting just outside the chopper.
Yes.
I understand there were plenty of RPGs fired at you that day.
Yes, there was. There was quite a few RPGs shot at us.
They can smile now, but at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, the US pilots say the incoming rockets and bullets were like nothing they'd ever experienced.
We were taking pretty effective machine gun fire, and we got hit, and the round came right through the cockpit between my feet. I thought that was it. I was pretty sure that I was missing a foot or something, but it worked out. I kept the bullet casing, the round that came through the cockpit, and I just keep it as a reminder. That was it.
That's as close as you can go.
It is, pretty much. Millimeters. It's all measured in millimeters.
Ben and his unit, 6 men in all, leapt from the helicopter into the battle. Already, 2 soldiers had been wounded.
We didn't realise what we'd come up against, and in the end it was, basically 4-1 odds, and we were certainly outpositioned and outgunned.
70 metres from the enemy, Ben's troop was in a fig orchard being fired on from a walled compound above.
We got hit pretty hard. We were up against more than one machine gun. It just got so heavy we couldn't physically get up and fire and move, so we just started to crawl.
Despite being shot at from 3 different machine gun positions, they crawled forward to within 40 metres of the Taliban until they could go no further. Then Ben noticed a small structure just outside the enemy compound that could provide cover from the onslaught.
I sort of go yell to the guy on my right, because at that point I was in the middle and I had a guy either side of me. We'd fought that way, all the way forward. I said, I'm going to go and clear the building. So I got up, he's put in some covering fire, and I just made a dash for about 15 metres. And if you can understand, it was not what you would consider an outhouse, but a small, run-down little shed. Shed. I started to clear it through the window, and as I did that, an RPG gunner had just started to protrude his weapon system outside of the window, and I was able to engage him at point blank.
Wait a minute, you say you were able to engage him. That sort of takes the humanity out of it. What happened? You saw this guy face to face.
Yeah, I mean, it was very quick. Obviously, I've seen him standing there with an RPG launched on his shoulder. I'm looking through the window as I've come into a point where I clearly identified that he was an armed insurgent. I engaged and killed him.
As enemy fire continued to pour down, Ben held up a grenade as a signal to one of his unit.
He knew what I wanted, so he sort of gave me the nod and was screaming out a 3 count, which basically meant I knew at 3 he was going to jump up and start and put some covering fire in so I could get a grenade away, which he did in front of 3 machine guns that were all firing, and AK-47 fire.
He exposed himself.
Yeah, I mean, this guy just popped up directly in front of the guns and dropped a clip into the enemy position. While he did that, I jumped out from behind the rubble.
But Ben's grenade had little effect, and his unit was still in deadly danger, still pinned down by the withering machine gun fire aimed directly at them.
When you're pushing your face into the dirt, which isn't doing anything, it's not helping you in any way, but it makes you feel better. That's when you know you're taking some rounds. So they were taking a lot of fire. And it just came down to that, the point that someone had to do something. I wasn't going to sit there and do nothing and just watch my mates die. I'd rather that be me than have to go home and face their families if they died. So I just ran at the wall.
In the face of 2 machine guns firing and some AK-47s.
Yeah. Seemed like a good plan at the time. Got to the wall, engaged the first machine gunner. So I engaged him, killed him, continued along the wall a couple of metres, hit the next one.
You killed him, you took out 2 machine guns.
Yep.
Of course, Ben didn't know it then, but this bravery, his courage, would earn him the Victoria Cross.
It saved the lives of his mates, and he knew he had to do that. But the other thing, it regained the initiative. It turned the tide of that action and enabled the momentum, which is essential in any attack, to keep going.
With Ben drawing fire away from his unit, his patrol commander hurled a grenade and silenced the 3rd machine gun. The fighting would continue for another 7 hours.
That was the start of what then turned out to be a fight that went all day. And we killed 22 insurgents, captured 5 PK machine guns in an area that was 200 metres wide. And that to me just quantifies the excellent leadership that was shown by those guys. They were more than up for it. The fighting that they did, and utter disregard for their own safety, because that's what we do. You know, who dares wins.
You went very close to being killed that day. Quite a few times.
As did everyone.
In a situation like that, is killing like winning?
No. Killing isn't winning. Winning is achieving your objective and bringing everybody home alive. If you have one person killed, if we'd have lost one bloke that day, I probably wouldn't be sitting here right now. You lose one guy, then you've lost. It's not a win.
Ben Roberts-Smith's bravery is legendary, but even a hero can have a hero. Ben's was fellow SAS soldier and close mate Sergeant Matthew Locke, who won the prestigious Medal for Gallantry in 2006, but was killed by the Taliban the next year. In part 2 of Mike Willesee's exclusive report, you'll hear what mateship and family mean to Ben.
They shall grow not old, as we who are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn.
Everyone loves the term digger because of what it represents. And people, you know, they can relate to that in everyday life because it's about looking after your mates, doing the right thing. You know, you work hard for what you've got, nothing's free.
Ben Roberts-Smith knows well the sacrifice of the men and women who have fought and fallen for this country.
You're reading those names, you equate them to the boys back home because the names are the same. You know, there's the Smiths, the Joneses, you know, the Gardners, and they're all people that you work with now.
At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We're all very proud of your achievement. Thanks very much, mate. Very pleased to be here.
It's about honouring them, and that's how we do it as soldiers. You know, the most professional job we can do, to the best of our ability, always 100%.
In 2006, Sergeant Matthew Locke was killed by a Taliban sniper in Afghanistan, leaving behind his wife Lee and young son Keegan. Matthew was Ben's friend and second in command of their patrol. They won the medal for gallantry together. Ben was about to go on leave when he last saw his mate.
You know, it was like it always is, you know, boys having a laugh, taking the piss out of each other. But I just remember, you know, like you always do, I just said, hey, don't do anything I wouldn't do. You know, it was a bit of a laugh, because you're always trying to outdo each other. And then I left. I met up with my wife and we went to Thailand for a holiday. It was the last day, 10 days later. I just got back to Perth Airport and stepped off the plane and heard it on the car radio.
It hurt you. Does it also motivate you?
Yeah.
Take a sip. Ben, I wasn't trying to make you emotional, but you're more than just a professional soldier. You're a man. And he was a great mate.
Sorry, mate.
No, it's cool, mate. It's really, it's you. And it's important. Matthew Locke is a great example of the mateship. You know, I mean, you've got a great mateship thing with all the guys you work with, and I picked one that was special to you. How important is mateship?
It makes a massive difference to you when you're actually fighting with people that you, one, really care about, and two, really respect. And that's why I think, you know, I get awarded something like a Victoria Cross. It's hard to wear amongst the calibre of men that I work with, because, you know, there's a lot of people that don't get recognised that have done some pretty amazing things.
I think a lot of people don't understand that you have the opportunity to accept or reject the Victoria Cross.
That's right.
So when you were faced with that decision, what did you do?
Look, it took me about an hour talking to the Chief of Army at the time. They stitched me up and told me I was going to a Defence Housing meeting and the Chief of Army was waiting in a hotel room with a letter from you know, the Queen, so it did come as a little bit of a shock. You know, I didn't, no one thinks that'll ever happen to them, so it's a little bit overwhelming. And my initial concern was, well, you know, if I take it, what does that mean? Do I have to stop being a soldier? So I said to the Chief, look, much like Mark Donaldson had done, as long as I can still go back, I'm happy to accept it. I wear it for the squadron, for what they achieved that day, and for my unit, because that day is just another day for us.
And you're prepared to go back?
Yeah, very much so. I'm looking forward to it. It's a bit of a break, actually. The PR's killing me.
You see that? Shirt off, yeah. Yeah, perfect, perfect, that's the way. Just turn to me at the shoulders, a bit more. That's it, yeah, good. Just lick your teeth, lick your lips. Give it yeah, that's the way, just
In May, Ben will be on the front cover of Men's Fitness magazine.
Need a few more people out here watching, don't you?
Yeah.
Be good?
No amount of SAS training prepares you for this.
You're too wide. Can you narrow yourself in a wee bit for me?
But his toughest role is the one he loves most.
Wow.
As husband to Emma and father to twins Eve and Elizabeth, now 18 months old.
And to have the girls was easily the best day of my life. It took us a long time to have the kids. When you come back from operation, you literally flick the switch and you go back. So within the space of 2 days, you're back at home, sitting at the table having dinner with your family, and then 2 weeks later you're deployed to a new theatre. So while I can, and I will this year, I will go back.
Why is it important?
It's important because it needs to be done.
You're prepared to die?
Very much so. And I only say that, I don't mean that in a theatrical sense, or I'm not being silly about it. I know what we're doing is actually stemming the flow of terrorism into this country. I know that. So for me and for everyone at my unit, if that was to happen, as with Matt, we don't consider it, you know, a waste, as some people say, or that it was fruitless. It serves a purpose. And if I go away and I was to get killed on the next trip, and that was the way that my life was meant to play out, you know, then so be it. At least I've done it serving my country and making this country that we love, all of us, a better place for our children.
You see a direct relationship between what you do and making us safer.
Certainly. Definitely.
Thanks, Ben.
Pleasure.
It was great, mate. Thank you.
Thanks, Mort.
What a man. Corporal Ben Robert Smith, VC, with Mike Willesee.